So,
good evening, ma'am. Good evening.
Sorry for using a weekend of yours.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I hope the climate change leaders have joined, most of them.
Yes, most of them. Thank you.
You're not audible.
Okay, right now.
Yeah, fine.
So one of our here, so he WWF.
Your voice is still breaking. We can't hear you very clearly.
Just get in the meanwhile. Records from the census. We ought to pick up. So, going further, could you just inform, we are getting to that. So, Samir, you want a very hearty welcome to you. And I am as excited as our climate leaders to listen from you firsthand about your experiences, how you were you worked smart in a very highly politicized domain, and your challenges and your takeaways. Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I understand why your voice was not clear.
Why?
Because my mic was on.
Oh, okay.
So you can mute your mic. I think now my voice is better now. Okay. I think that kind of a conflict from both sides, because I sit in this side of the table and you guys sit on the other side. If you see it like that, and when both of us try to speak at the same time, the voices break. That is to begin with at the outset on a lighter note. I'm saying, since I was having a conversation with Diba ma'am, and I was just asking about the profile of students and the leaders in this program. Most of you are from South India, from Kerala, from Tamil Nadu, so that you are aware of geography here. All of you are graduates in this field or some other field, and you have come and taken this program. If my voice is not clear, you can just send a message. Charlie Kurian, do not getting voice. Is it okay now, Charlie?
Your voice is clear, sir. You can continue. I can hear you very clearly.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, I was thinking how to address you, because certain things I'm still on the field and we are working and we are trying to find a solution. So I thought, from my experience in my initial career, wherever I had a chance of confrontation or chance of complementing activity with the climate change leaders or with the environmentalists, I thought I'll narrate that experience, and from there we can take it to interactive session. I hope that would do justice, because the topic today is a very broad topic. Climate change and climate resilience is a very broad topic. I may be touching upon certain aspect of it, not everything, because from my experience, my limited experience as a civil servant, how I have come in touch with this and what were the takeaways that I can share with you. That's the best I can do. So I will just give a general intro about my career in the last 10 years. I got selected to civil service, Indian Administrative Service in 2011 and inducted to 2012 batch. So our initial training was in Mussoorie for 2 years, and then I was an assistant collector trainee in Tuticorin. After that training period, my first posting was in Paramakudi. Paramakudi is a very barren jurisdiction. It's a very dry land. It is in the district of Ramanathapuram. Many of you may be knowing. It is also the hometown of Kamal Hassan. So this name is familiar. So I was starting my proper career in Paramakudi after Tuticorin episode of training. So Paramakudi, I had an experience or a bitter experience with the Prosophis juliflora. Most of you may be knowing Prosophis juliflora is an invasive species. It is காட்டுக்கருவேல். தமிழ்ல காட்டுக்கருவேல்னு சொல்லுவாங்க, மலையாளத்துல சீமக்கருவேல்னு പറയാം. അങ്ങനെ you can name it. It is Prosophis juliflora. It is known to be introduced by the government itself because the land was so barren and it is not cultivable. The groundwater level was also very on the highly exploited category. There was no scope of ample rain in that part of our country. The government introduced this particular species so that it grows on its own without much of irrigation, without much of care. It will grow on its own. But over a period of time, this particular species, which was not a native species, it was actually native in some of the African countries. It started growing voraciously. It started growing in a mad manner and covered most of the district. Ramanathapuram is a big district, around 3,000 square kilometers. The entire district, except for few households and few patches of paddy fields and some other citrus fruits, the land was infested by this particular species, which is called Prosophis juliflora. Then this came as a public interest litigation in the court of High Court of Madras in Madurai bench. The bench was proactive and they took it to an extent that this particular species should be deep, like it is like an infestation. It is like a pest. It should be like eliminated. That is another extreme view of looking at it. It should be cleared off. Then the entire machinery was after that to clear Prosophis juliflora. But by that time, Prosophis was one of the main flora or green cover, though it is not native. It is one of the main green cover in that part of our country because it is highly resilient. It is highly water. It has thorns. Mostly, it more than leaves, it has got thorns. So it is highly deep rooted. It sucks the water from the water table. Very difficult to remove it. Even if you cut it, a small piece of root, it can regrow. It's highly resilient species, and most of the district was covered with this particular thing because there were no other cultivation, and people used to depend on the wood of this particular plant for making charcoal. So there was a livelihood involved in this entire process. Then court came into picture and gave a blanket order saying that this particular species, which is an invasive species, should be fully eliminated or like taken away. It was a very challenging moment for all of us, basically for the government machinery. So anyway, we did our best. We tried to pool funds from Narega, pool from other CSR and other schemes, and we started this mission of removing Prosophis juliflora. We started removing from one side, it started growing from another side because it is more resilient than the Homo sapiens. it grew voraciously. So that way, we were having a tough time. Even now, the bureaucracy of southern Tamil Nadu is fighting with Prosopis julifera. They have not completely eliminated it. They still. Am I audible? Okay. They're still after Prosopis julifera. But I wanted to tell. It's a small story. It's a small town story. Removing a particular plant which is thought to be invasive and not native. What are the implications? What are the effects or aftermath of removing such a plant, even though it is not native? Because most of the carbon sequestration was happening through this particular plant, because most of the green cover of that particular land was with Prosopis only. So once you're removing something, you have to have a plan of rehabilitation. You have to replace it with some native trees. Then we thought of, okay, we have to replace it with native trees. We went up to the court and said, this is a slow process. It's a very good decision by the honorable court, but we need to have a replacement strategy as well. And it should not be in a hurry, because this is one particular species, though it is not welcome to our part, it has grown extensively. So you have to replace it with equal or more amount of green cover, flora, for the equal or more amount of carbon sequestration. Second thing, there is a livelihood involved along with this particular species. We have to find an alternative for livelihood for those people who depend on this particular species, which is less water intensive, which is high growing, and which is high energy converting. Like the wood conversion of energy is on a higher side when we make it to charcoal, and it is less capital intensive as a livelihood activity. We need to find an alternative for that livelihood loss also. And there is ample flora and fauna which grow along with the species, though it is not native. The rabbits, the rodents, the reptiles, which live under the shade and burrows of this particular species, everything will be disturbed. So this should be a long-term process, and this should come along with replacement strategy. That way, Honorable Court was also proactive in accepting that demand, and then that work continues even now. This is something started in 2014. Now we are in 2022. We are not fully. Nitin, I think Nitin, your mic is on. Thank you. So this process, even after say 8 years, the process is continuing. Prosopis is being cleared off from basically from bigger tanks. We have 2,300 plus tanks in Ramanathapuram for conserving water. This invasive species has grown all over this tank, in the bunds and even in the water catchment area. So first priority, we are removing those plants from that tanks. Then we are going to fields which are which can be converted into agricultural land. So that way we are prioritizing and doing it. The work is not yet over, and the replacement is also happening hand in hand. So I am saying this small story because to begin with, this was introduced as in a mission mode to remove every invasive species in a matter of 1 year or so. But that is not the right strategy. We found it in hindsight, and now it is a long-term process. And this is involving livelihood, the local flora, the local cultural aspirations, because there were law and order situations when we went to remove this, because the Prosopis was full grown, and it is a potential livelihood earner for people in the village. So they were not allowing government to remove it. So that way we had to face even law and order situations. Then we had to face contempt of court as a civil servant, because court was also very stringent that they have ordered to remove it. Why are you not doing it? Giving a compliance report. So we were caught in between this struggle. But then all of us sat together and a consensus was arrived. And now it is a long-term process. And I think in last 8 years, considerable amount of tanks have been cleared off with this Prosophis julifera, and fruit-bearing trees and citrus fruits were planted in those areas. So this is one example where I was mentioning where things are not easy. Mostly as climate leaders, you will be into conflict resolution. Climate activism and environmental protection comes with a lot of conflict, and you would be working as leaders who will be into conflict resolution. This is one such example I was mentioning. My next posting as project director of fisheries department in Park Bay region, I had an ample opportunity to see the same story, more complex, more politically and economically and socially complex scenario, because I was working in the Park Bay region. You may be knowing Park Bay, the Park Strait between India and Sri Lanka. The Park Bay is a closed bay. It's a small bay where we have a chain of islands between India and Sri Lanka, starting from Vedaranyam to Dhanushkodi in the south. And fishing in Park Bay have been a point of conflict with India and Sri Lanka for so long. And the civil war and the LTT movement, all this have complicated the issue of this conflict. And I was taking charge of that particular thing in 2017. That time civil war came to an end. The presence of Sri Lankan Navy became more prominent in the northern Sri Lankan waters, and Sri Lanka has taken a proactive step by banning trawling in their waters. So in this context only, I was introduced to this subject to work as a project director and an additional director of fisheries to find a solution for the Indo-Sri Lankan fishing conflict. Basically, this conflict is a conflict of territory. At the same time, it is a conflict of sustainable fishing, because our neighboring country, they have banned they have totally eliminated trawling, which is an unsustainable fishing practice, but we are still continuing with trawling. But we have a ban of new registration of trawlers in Park Bay region. But we have the existing trawlers operating in Park Bay. The Sri Lankan government and the northern Sri Lankan fishermen, they are up against this thing, against trawling in Sri Lankan waters. Even if our normal country boats, the motorized but non-mechanized boats go to Sri Lankan waters, they will be lenient. They are okay with that. But if trawling happens, if bull trawling, pair trawling, the more complex and more unsustainable fishing practices, if we are found to be doing that, the Navy and the fishermen of Sri Lanka, they are very, very pissed off with us because of this. And sometimes it will lead into law and order at sea, and even instances of firing, and many innocent fishermen has lost their life because of this conflict. So I was working with the fishermen to find a resolution to this conflict. And few months we had no solution. We were just talking, and just I was going for fishing with them, even venturing up to the IMBL in the Sri Lankan International Maritime Boundary Line. I was just knowing, just trying to know how they were doing this activity and what are the concerns they have, and why they are not able to come out of this trawling. Basically, again, the same story. Livelihood is a major concern. They were so used to this kind of a fishing. so much so that they're unable to come out of it because it's a single day fishing. If you go for a day, you have handful of catch because you're swiping the floor of the sea, and you get a good catch, get good money, you come and take rest. It is not a very strenuous activity, trolling. But if you go for a normal non-mechanized boat, it is more toil, or if you go for deep sea, again 20 to 30 days you have to be at sea, and it's a very tough thing, and you need better endurance to be at sea for that long. So our fishermen, they have invested so much into the trawlers. A trawler is costing around starting from 25 to up to 50 lakh rupees. So they have so much capital investment in this activity, they are not able to come out of it. And of course, their version that is that every boat is supporting 10 families, which is a true thing. So in one go, you cannot eliminate it, just like Prosopis julifera. You cannot ask them to scrap your trawlers and come out of it. You have to offer a package. You have to offer a good rehab package so that they willingly come out of it. The incentive model should be attractive. So we were working on that incentive model, and we are actually duty bound, and we are under so much of pressure from starting from the World Trade Organization, from UN, from our government of India, from the government of Tamil Nadu, because we are in contravention with many laws, starting from the Sustainable Development Goals to the trade laws to the many laws, UN laws at sea, open sea. We are, and the IUU, the illegal, unregulated, and illegal, unregulated fishing. We are like asking for more negative points for us, for our country, and for our state. So it was high time that we should find a model which make our fishermen self-sustainable and come out of it. Then we found out that few of them were like ready, few enterprising fishermen, youngsters, they were ready to scrap their trawlers in lieu of a new boat, but government should offer that boat. That exercise we did. We offered them a brand new deep sea fishing vessel. That vessel has got good endurance. It can take them to deeper seas up to 500 nautical miles, that is more than 1,000 kilometers from the shore. They can fish in the exclusive economic zone, which is underexploited. There is traceability. The boat is being traced. The entire catch is being traced, and the element of traceability is there. They have every facility in that boat, including a toilet, because most of the trawlers and other boats, they were not having a toilet. So that was another concern, and it was also leading to many accidents at sea. Just because of their attending, because they attend a nature's call in the night, a small rock or roll of that boat is leading to an accident. So this particular boat which we were introducing, it had every facility, including a good bedroom, a good toilet, and safe refrigeration facilities. It was built by the Cochin shipyard, because for the first time we introduced the engineered fishing boat in the country. Previously, the entire industry, the entire sector was run in traditional wisdom and knowledge. The fishermen themselves, they have a set of people, the carpenters, they build boats out of their traditional wisdom. Never ever they have ventured into engineering a boat. So in this case, we introduced an engineered boat with the traditional knowledge of fishermen. They have given the design, we have modified it, and with the help of a major shipbuilder, the biggest shipbuilder in the country, we convinced them to take up this project and build the boat. It is most energy efficient, so that they did not consume more fuel. It was having solar powered systems, so that again it is giving back to the carbon footprint. and we are sending this boat to deeper seas where the resource is in plenty, in abundance, and underexploited. And we have ensured traceability component to fishing. So these were the things we were offering to the fishermen. So over a period of 2 years, more than 100 boats were launched, and all of them have come out of trolling and they've started fishing in the deeper Indian Ocean. This is partly a success story, but partly a story which is not to be claimed to be a success story. I have to be candid in that, because 100 boats we could launch, and all these fishermen stopped trolling and they came out of Parkway. They started fishing in the deeper Indian Ocean in a sustainable way. But we still have hundreds of fishermen continuing with the trolling. So the work is not over, but the first step we could successfully do, we could convince the people, we could offer a platter of solutions. This was one of the solutions. Then we gave the fisherwomen of Park Bay with multiple solutions like seaweed cultivation, a small fish kiosk, giving them bivalve, like cultivating the mollusk and bivalves within, because Parkway is a very shallow sea. It's like a pond. You can walk inside the sea for meters, like 500 meters. You can just walk, only 3 feet of water. It is a ripe piece of sea to cultivate something, because it is not a deeper ocean. So we tried to introduce many things where in a confined area, women can venture into the sea and do cultivation, like seaweed, like bivalve. These things were well received by the community, by the fisherwomen, and we formed self-help group of fisherwomen, and they were taking up this project. With the help of World Bank project, we could launch World Bank project named Fisheries Livelihood Management Project, FIMSUL, Fisheries Project in Management of Livelihood and Sustainability, FIMSUL, under Coastal Disaster Risk Reduction Program of World Bank. We introduced a project for the fisherwomen. So it became a well-received project. So a platter of solution we offered. Good number of people have come out of trolling, and they were winning their bread sustainably. But a good number of people are still in Park Bay, still trolling. New trawlers are banned by government of Tamil Nadu. They cannot introduce a new trawler. So government is also looking for a period where all these trawlers will have its natural death because of wear and tear and maintenance. And a few years, slowly the numbers will decline. But we have to fast track that process. Otherwise, there is a chance of replacing this trawler with another boat stealthily. So all these things may happen. And why it happened? Because there is the incentive model is not working. So if the incentive model is perfect, appropriate, people will come and take that model. So our solution was good for a handful of people, but not wooing the rest of them. So we have to work again on that. So I was just elaborating what happened in my second posting. So that happened, and then I became director of fisheries, and I was following up this project till I became collector. So after that, in Coimbatore, I wanted to give a few hints on the community forest right of tribals. Again, so we are touching all this. ஐந்திணைன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க தமிழ்ல, முல்லை, மருதம், குறிஞ்சி, பாலை, and நெய்தல். So I have worked in all that ஐந்திணைகள். So now I am in the guts, in the மேற்கு தொடர்ச்சி மலை, the western guts. So some experience with climate and environment and forest rights in the district I can elaborate. After this Forest Right Act, from the Constitution, we have many for I think 40 we have reference about conserving the wildlife and environment in the directive principles. Also in the fundamental duties in 51A, it has been mentioned about the importance of conserving wildlife and environment. But it is a very plain reference without much of detailing. Then came the UN Convention, the Stockholm Convention, 1972, and now 1972 Wildlife Protection Act, and lot of rally of legislations and statutes for air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. All this act came. Then as late as 2006, the Forest Right Act came. The Forest Right Act, this act is not well understood by many of the civil servants and the activists, even the activists. People were, in regular parlance, people were saying that we were giving patta or we were giving title to the forest dwellers or to tribals. Actually, it is not a patta. It is not a title. Forest Right Act describe about three kind of rights. It is basically endorsement of the existing right. It is not a new right you are giving or bestowing to them. It is endorsement of existing rights. So Forest Right Act, to begin with, they describe about individual rights. Individual right is basically to put up their houses, their dwelling place, and in and around the houses they can hold the right. So that we could give to more than 3,000 people in Coimbatore on a special drive. Yet, I think around 400 is yet to be done because of some issues and conflicts and many things. We are yet to clear that. But around 3,000 individual rights we could give to the tribals. This is basically to put up their houses or to endorse the place or vicinity of the land. They have already put up their houses. Second thing is community right. Community right is basically to map and describe and put it in record, put it on record. All the trails and all the fields, all the areas where they go for their regular activity, for their livelihood, and for their community related purpose. It can be cultural, religious, anything. So that previously it was given for some small Anganwadi or some school or something. They'll just describe that particular thing and say that this is community right I'm giving to you. We have extrapolated that and we formed groups with the tribal youth with the help of some NGOs like Keystone Foundation, Adi Foundation, and Worldwide Fund of India, WWFI. All these NGOs actually came up and they have helped us in mapping the entire resources in the forest. More than 3,000 hectares we went on walk and covered through GPS. The first time where GPS is used to map the community rights. And as late as last week, we could give community rights to 2 clusters of habitations. That is 13 habitations in Western Ghats. The rest of the habitation, the work is on. Maybe in the month of, by March, we'll be able to clear all of that community rights and community forest rights as well. So this is a Herculean process involving the community, using their traditional wisdom and using technology to describe in black and white what is their right, what are the conservation rights, and how without conflict we can endorse that right. Once we give it to them, the management, the ownership, everything lies with the tribals. I feel that would be a better management practice if we empower them to manage their own resources. So much of negativity associated with exploitation of forest resources and even many illegal practices happening in that area can be curtailed. So making the tribals who are living there the real owners of their land and the resources and making them empowered to manage their resources would be a right solution to conserve nature. So this was my experience out of community rights in Coimbatore, especially in the Western Ghats area of Coimbatore. And we had an excellent feedback from the tribals. All of them came when we were doing the district level meeting. There is a Gram Sabha, there is a sub-divisional committee and a district level committee. The district level committee, all the tribals came. I thought they're coming for some protest. They were not coming for any protest. They were coming to thank us. So it was such a touching moment, overwhelming moment to receive all of them and explain to them, and they were explaining to us how in a better fashion we can protect that environment in a better way with the traditional wisdom. So this is what I can offer at this point in time. 3 experience in 3 different, one in Palaivanam, one in Neidal, and one in Kurunji, or maybe Marudam, somewhere in some territory of Tamil Nadu. So these are my experience. Then I would be happy to hear from you, get your feedback, take some questions and try to answer it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sammeran. Amazing journey it has been. I've been following your work for 10 years anyway. So Sanju and I personally, we have been doing that. And in fact, I wanted to intern with you 2 years back, but then couldn't. When you, I think, not 1 year back when you called for interns. My situation was such that I couldn't do that. And of course, that age barrier will be there. But I again saw you have called for interns, right?
Yeah, we have called, and a group of youngsters have joined. 6 of them for a long-term internship, and 25 of them for a short-term internship.
So Brinda, you had a question, right?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Deepa ma'am. It's wonderful hearing from you, Sammeran sir, and especially, I mean, your work with community forest rights. I think that's very commendable because it's one of the first cases in Tamil Nadu that we are seeing that community forest rights has been granted, right? So it's very wonderful to hear that. I think one question I had was specifically, Tamil Nadu government had announced something on a green fellowship program, right? Where young people basically like us could work in climate change mission along with district administrations of all the districts in Tamil Nadu, right? So that is something like, I found was a very good way for young people like us to contribute in a large scale to the cause, right? So I mean, I would probably just like to understand from you, what do you see is the scope of an initiative like that? And also maybe from a more information point of view as well. This was announced a couple of months back. So would you know any answers on when it might get launched, etc.? So that's probably my question.
I am afraid to say that I am not having much information about that fellowship, but I'm happy to gather some information and share it with Deepa ma'am, and she can in turn give to you. I'll get more info about that because I have also heard of the program, but I'm not clear about the nitty-gritties, the guidelines, the recruitment process and all. But I can get it to you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Could I add to that question? Like, Sammeran, if you like, they could mail you personally with further questions, would that be okay? You could address them directly, given your time.
Sure. They can mail it to me. You can share my email ID to them. Okay. It's welcome.
We also are most happy to do that. So now, Stefan, you had a question. So Sammeran, Stefan was part of the WWF team in Coimbatore, which worked with you. I don't know whether you met each other. Stefan, so on to you.
Yeah. Hello, sir. This is Stefan from WWF. I work with the communities, as you said, on the FRA part, and mostly my work is in Satyamangalam and Erode. Where we actually fight for rights in the Tiger Reserve. But my question for today is, I come from Mettupalayam. My hometown is Mettupalayam, and all throughout my life, I have seen development taking a different shape in Mettupalayam and even in Coimbatore. And I have also witnessed a lot of elephant deaths and lot of conflicts in the area, especially the crop damages and human deaths, and lot of these issues happening, uh, um, and uh, and also the infrastructure and development phase which Coimbatore is going up. It's also like it has developed to a state where Coimbatore is now becoming the top two cities in in Tamil Nadu, and also to that fact, Coimbatore is also number one in the conflict of wildlife. And as a collector, how do you see this problem as a
Stefan, you broke out in between there. Could you just repeat the sentence?
I'm sorry. So my thing was as a collector of this district, how do you think we could work in a better way and create a balance? And we talk about sustainable development, but how do you think as a community, as a citizen, how can I contribute to this? And how we can work together as a team? That was my question, sir.
Thank you, Stefan. You are correct on almost everything. That Coimbatore is an upcoming city, one of the largest growing city in Tamil Nadu. At the same time, the city with or the district with maximum number of conflicts, man-animal conflicts, and this kind of violations. I see it from a perspective of poor planning, poor urban planning, poor residential planning, and poor planning of growth, which happened over years. It's not today or yesterday's issue. This was there for last. This is a pitfall which we are seeing now. It's happening for the last 50 years because we were a very sensitive district with one entire western side covered with western ghats. So our planning, our land planning to start with, should have addressed this issue long back. Without a proper land planning authority or proper land planning, the growth was dispersed in certain knots. You'd have noticed it maybe in Metupalayam, some in the Metupalayam road along Annur, the heart of the city in Coimbatore, then towards Pollachi, and a good number of residential units cropped up in Western Ghats, adjoining the Western Ghats, because it was a good climate, conducive climate to live. But when we put up our residential units, entire it's a chain reaction. Once you put up your residential unit, you'll be putting up commercial units. Then you will be putting up waste management units. Then you will be putting up your units where you go and work. So that way, it has complicated the entire slope of Western Ghats. Though it is not very near, if you see the trail of or movement of elephants from the Jakanari Hills in Metupalayam, the elephants, they are also a little lazy. They cannot climb, so they take a path along the food hills of Jakanari, along from Satyamangalam. Then they travel all the way to Karnataka and Kerala. So that trail is not a single thin line. It's a broad space, no? So anything happening in and around that space, not even inside that space, even near to that space, will compromise the movement of elephants. This is just to give an example of conflict with the elephants. You necessarily need not put up your house or your farm or your crop in the elephant corridor. It can be adjoining the elephant corridor also. You put up a banana plantation adjoining to elephant corridor, elephant will come out of the corridor. So you are attracting the animal with something very sweet and attractive for that species. So that way, we should have thought of a buffer zone. We should have thought of a buffer zone to begin with when we were putting up the land planning. Unfortunately, we were not thinking that deep. We were not expecting this kind of an issue. We were actually a sparsely populated district to begin with. Then these nodes of growth came and population started increasing. Then scarcity of land and pressure on land built up, and this has led to agriculture adjoining this reserve forest, agriculture adjoining the elephant corridor, and so on and so forth. And even we went to an extreme that some Birkelin started operating in the elephant corridor, which is closed recently, of course. But this conflict and pressure on land over this 50 years has resulted in this kind of a conflict. But we should not be like heartbroken because of this. We have still scope to come out of certain things. We have enough environment laws which are stringent enough. Only thing, enforcement matters, and also public contribution and public participation matters in this regard. So it should be a people's movement. It should come from the community. Government or an enforcing agency going inside and doing a regulatory activity will always result in tension and law and order. Though certain things we can, some commercial or some industrial or some kind of a major violation we can go and demolish. But what about agricultural land? What about a small piece of land where a small or medium farmer is investing everything in that and earning a livelihood out of it? So this should be a win-win situation, and the incentive model we are offering to them should be attractive, and it should come with participation and consultation only. So that way I'm looking at it. And presently we have renovated and refurbished our master plan, land plan and all. In this plan we have put lot of thought, and it took 1 year to consult and plan it accordingly, so that the western end of the district is no more thickly populated or not coming up with residential units. So the growth nodes, we are shifting away from the western Ghats, and we are giving a proper well demarcated and GPS linked boundaries to the growth zones and developmental zones, and it is well put up in perspective and it put up in black and white, so that there is no more major violations. Previously we were not doing that. It was just organic. The development was just happening on its own, and naturally people would choose places little cold or little conducive in like wind and humidity and temperature. So naturally they were going towards the western Ghats, which had resulted in this many problems. That's what I feel.
And I hope he answered you. As you know, what's your response? Want any more elaboration on that, or you can connect to him via mail later, definitely. So I had one question I'll add to this, but before that, Sindhura has put a question in the chat box. So she says, hi, thank you for sharing such amazing issues with regards to climate change and management. I am Sindhura, an urban designer who is interested in climate change in practice. I know that Coimbatore has a whole section for its smart city development, which hosts urban competitions to deal with waterways within the city and such. Was wondering if you can touch upon what government and individual designer or planners can do for eco-sensitive zones, and what actionable outcomes are possible, say, in the recent future, and then the larger outcomes with respect to Coimbatore, which has a dense forest cover and many waterways which need protection even in the city. I hope you got a gist of it. I guess she wants you to answer from the perspective of an urban planner in a much rampant developing city.
Yeah, I understood. It's a very long question, but I understood the crux of it. We have a running program, Smart City Coimbatore, and this is one city which took water bodies as 60% of its capital work. Water body renovation, because we have a chain of tank. Basically, they are all flood channels of Noyal River. So the system of tanks starts from Noyal and ends in Noyal. So That 11 tanks we have taken up under smart city, which has been renovated, desilted, strengthened the bund, and we have made it a urban open space where people can come and spend time. There are smaller parks along the bund, cycle tracks, non-motorized tracks. All these things were developed along the lakes of Coimbatore. Most of the other smart cities, they have invested more on mobility, more on roads and solid waste management. We also have components for all of this, but more than 60% of the investment came in renovating the water bodies as such. So this is a good model where water bodies were renovated in one hand, and we have created spaces. We have created new spaces, urban spaces where people can come and spend time, because in an urban area, space matters, and public spaces matters a lot. So it was a win-win situation where we have renovated the water bodies, taken encroachments out of it. We have actually removed more than 1,800 houses of people who were living and encroaching the water bodies, and all the 1,800 people were compensated with Urban Habitat Development Board flat, 600 square feet flat, fully under their ownership, and the beneficiary contribution, which is running about a lakh, 86,000 to a lakh, was paid by the Smart City Fund. So this is also a model where with less conflict, with less bloodshed, we could convince the encroachers of water bodies and give them a better habitat, better living space, and take back the water body and bring it back to its glory, and create an urban open space along the side of the water body. So this is a good case study. If somebody want to come and associate with Smart City, you're welcome. I'll touch base with the Commissioner of Corporation, and he'll be doing the needful. He is having a set of interns under the Smart City scheme. They're working like it's a full-time internship. They're working here along with the Smart City mission. Thank you.
Yeah, from Shakila related to fishery, she is working. She's been extensively working in that domain. So she has already. Thank you for sharing your experience related to your stint in Paramagudi. And she says most are aware of the banning of trawlers, which created a lot of conflicts. But instead of promoting banning from the government, is there anything that the government can think of to compensate the trawlers, as they've invested a lot and are struggling to get back that, which ultimately leads to loss, so that they could invest in sustainable ways of fishing with appropriate vessels. So she's talking talk based on happening there instead of a total ban.
Shakila, your point is pertinent. The same issue we were confronting, and this scheme of deep sea fishing boat we were introducing has a component of 80% subsidy by both governments, Government of India and Government of Tamil Nadu. 16% is a credit linkage from the bank, and rest of it is only the beneficiary contribution. That if you want to get that subsidy, that huge amount of subsidy, about presently I think it is about 60 lakh. The subsidy amount itself is 60 lakh. Cost of the boat is 80 lakh to 1 crore. The deep sea fishing boat, because it's a bigger vessel. If you want to fetch that subsidy, you have to scrap your trawler, and you will get a subsidy. It's like a grant of around 56 lakh, getting straight to build a new boat. So it was quite a good incentive. Only thing, the skill sets for them for deep sea fishing, the endurance for deep sea fishing, the mind block of fishermen to come out of this easy way of fishing to a little difficult way of fishing, this and some kind of a cold chain infrastructure they were asking, these were lacking, and now we are coming up with new harbors and new cold chain facilities. But again, as you say, it is a very, very tough task to convince fishermen, because it's a culturally adapted way of fishing. Our generation, they have been doing it. It's not easy over few months or few years to convince them and like dispossess them out of their own land. And this deep sea fishing is, they think it, they associate it with dispossession of their traditional rights. So it's a very thin line. You have to work on it. Thank you. One more question. As a bureaucrat, what kind of support you wish to have from our side? See, I was mentioning about.
Yeah. I mean, to add a little more lines to that question so that maybe you can finish with it. So we had three major questions. One was how climate leaders can work with different collectorates in their ecosystems, what handholding they can get and they can give. And second, you answered, you already started with it, your experiences. And the third one was, what can climate leaders do? So that is what Agnes also added. So let me just add a few points to it. Like majorly any climate solution, it's a long road ahead. Overnight answers are not there. But every solution is involved, I mean, has a domain of, political construct, industrial nature, academia, and the community involved. So from your experience, how has been this, support you receive from the governance, the industry in your area, the academia, affinity, universities, from where such amazing youth leaders come, and the community. So what we can do as a complete ecosystem in a public-private partnership, and what can these youth leaders do specifically, working alongside with dynamic leaders like you. So this is one.
Okay, thank you. To put it in perspective, see, basically all these issues, there are spectrum of issues, starting from minor conflict on resource exploitation to a major violation of a existing statute or a law. So certain things are blatant violation of some laws which should be taken or treated with iron hand and on a regulatory mode. But most of the problem statements in climate and environment is in the gray area, is in that mid area where there is an existing practice, there is livelihood associated with it, there are cultural and other customary rights associated with it, there is a whole lot of vested interest associated with it, and we are not able to offer a solution. Most of the time, the activists or climate activists or people who are enthused by this will be whistleblowers or will be raising this problem. But we should be in a position to offer solutions as well as climate leaders. I would urge you, because I was depending on so many climate leaders like you in different capacity, and I was depending on the community themselves to offer me solutions, because defining a problem is the first step, but just saying that problem and saying that everything is bad will not give us any solution, and creating a conflict also will not give us any solution. Only regulatory mindset will not give a solution. I feel we should define that problem of what is happening, what is wrong, and we should offer some solutions which are practical. Like I was mentioning this community rights. No, the tribals were not allowing forest department to enter. Forest department was also not endorsing their rights. There was a conflict running. So the solution was, with the help of tribal youngsters and forest, we made a group and we put technology into it. Technology is impartial. Technology interface comes with impartiality and non-judgmental nature. Technology is not judgmental. So technology started mapping the area, not humans. So that way, similar with the fishermen also. We sat down with them. They offered a solution. If we made a boat and introduced it, no one would have taken it. Just because they drew it, they designed it, we manufactured it in their presence. They accepted it. So solutions also should be design made. And as climate leaders, I would urge all of you to come up with solutions also, or work along with the community, along with the bureaucracy, the government, the political leaders to find the solutions. Otherwise, we all will result in conflict. And definitely there will be vested interest. There will be vested interest to sabotage certain things. But you should not feel disheartened. This world is still functioning, and the planet is still green and is still breathing because of a handful of leaders like all of you, working in different parts of the world, okay, in different capacities, in different areas, as political leaders, as bureaucrats, as activists, as judges, as whistleblowers, as journalists. Everybody is contributing to sustain this environment and to uphold the shared values of environmental sustainability. So you should not be disheartened. There are issues. I am not negating that. Definitely, there are vested interests. There'll be good amount of resistance also. That resistance will be resistance towards change, and also resistance because of vested interest. So that we have to fight out. We have to fight out with compassion. We have to fight out with statutory backup. We have to fight out by hearing both parties. So that way you have to approach this issue, because it's a complex issue. It is not a linear issue so that you can define it and give a formula to it. It is not like every issue is complex. Maybe Stefan may be able to elaborate on his experience in Satyamangalam. It's not simple. So we have to have an open mind to hear all the parties, all the stakeholders, and to offer solutions which can convince all of them, if not the main stakeholders. Thank you. I hope I have done some justice.
We are running for the 5:30. We have few more questions in the chat box, but I'll be mailing that to you. And those who are very much interested in getting his response, ask for his mail directly from me. I won't be sharing it commonly because it doesn't make any sense. So those who are really interested in getting the response from the collector of Coimbatore, Dr. Sammeran, please ask for his mail ID to me personally. That is one thing. Some sort of control helps always. So Sammeran, thank you extreme, and thank you for you for having been with us. We have been trying for a month and to get you. So I'm happy and grateful to you for having joined. So just to finish with our session, one of our interns, Kavita, we had a proactivity aligned for them during the course of the climate leadership program in Tamil Nadu. And after that, we asked them to pitch with certain projects. So one group actually came up with a pitch wherein they want to do a micro climate action plan for Mettupalayam. So they have a request whether they could connect to you and get support on doing the same.
Of course, they can. They're welcome. They can send me a mail. If somebody is around, they can come over to collectorate or to my office, and I'll get them. No problem. They're welcome.
Yes, that answer. And then one more question was, what are the opportunities, which you could help them with, any interning opportunity, which not the one that has been closed? Or is there any other project you would like our climate leaders to be aligned with or supporting you? If there's any other opportunity, please do mail us on that also. We'll be happy to, we need more such young leaders working with the system. They are all happy to spend their time and effort on that. That's one thing we know. So,
I'll keep it in my mind, and if at all any opportunity comes, I'll definitely touch base with you. Thank you
so much. So if anyone wants to put in a word, you can unmute yourself now and do that. Otherwise, we'll be saying ciao for now. Anyone wants to add to it?
Thank you so much, sir, for the part you shared with us about fisheries and your experience. I would like to know more about it. Probably I'll mail you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let me thank you being the voice for all present here. We have more than 100 there. So maybe after 2 or 3 months, when they have some projects under their belts, we'll get back to you with their amazing experiences. We have 100 plus leaders working, and we plan to scale up, and we need the guidance and experience sharing of dynamic leaders like you. They always need to know the challenges on their way more than what is possible. So that is something which is the key takeaway we see from this session. So thank you once again, Sammeran. Thank you so much, and wishing you all the luck and more in your journey. Let's see, being stalwart examples of. I personally, the Dio's story, which I wanted to tell, I wanted you to tell, but I don't know whether I'm pronouncing his name correctly. The young chap you sent for a training program, right?
Yes. Diotis. His name is Diotis.
Yeah, so I mention a story wherever I take sessions of, inspiring leaders. So we hope your journey becomes a pedestal or something shining which these leaders can look up to and aspire to become also. So thank you once again. So with that, we'll close. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all climate leaders. Thank you for joining me, and I hope I have done some justice to this program. And you're free to touch base with me through my email. It can be shared in their group, and if any program comes up, definitely I'll keep it in mind and I'll let you know. Okay. Good day. Bye. Thank you.